Hey guys, welcome back. It's time to do a Marvel Mystic Mayhem tier list. First of all, obviously, this is just the beginner and the first tier list of the game since it just released like 10 days ago. The game just had the global launch, and obviously, a lot of things will get changed over here with new characters, new updates, and even if we get any changes in the current characters that we have right now, or whenever we get a new mode in the game, and probably some of the characters will be more useful in those type of games. So for now, this is going to be the first starter tier list that we have, and let's see how it goes. Obviously, you might not agree with all of them, but it's just my opinion and the way that I think of the game. So feel free to do whatever you want, and the more important thing, as you know me, is just to have fun playing the games. All right, starting with the first character, Angela over here. She, as a defender, she pulls enemy towards herself instead of like taunting them. Like most of the defenders over here have shield or taunts, but she doesn't. She just pulls enemy towards herself and doesn't have any taunts. So I guess I'm just gonna put her over here on like the B tier because she's not C. She is still a bit useful, especially when you wanna change the direction of the enemies. Next one, the other defender, Armor. She's a great unit. She has shields, she taunts, she stuns the enemy, and she also does AoE attack with her ultimate skill. So basically, she just does like one attack and doesn't have much range. That's going to be the disadvantage. But in general, she's a really good defender, way better than Angela. So obviously, she will be above Angela, and I think A tier would be good for now. Maybe S, like at the last, like the end of the row. But for now, we'll just do A tier. Now, Black Knight, he's kind of a weird character. You can't do his ult unless you get hit about, I think, 34 times to get the 100 cursed marks. And ult is just a waste. You also lose HP. I know he has regeneration, so that's the only character in the game that might be something that we get more info later on and more be more useful. But at the moment, he's not a good character, so don't waste building him up. And I think he's at the bottom tier, C tier at the moment. And then Captain America, the new character that we got. So he's a fun character to play with as a defender. He has selected target enemies when doing his skills so that your other characters is like an opposite taunt. So that you select a character, you select an enemy to attack and you deal all of the damage on that enemy. Buffs attack or reduces damage taken with his skills. So based on your choice, because you can switch between offensive and defensive stance. And also his ult is, I think his ult would be best when you're doing as a defend because you get shield for everyone. But if you do his ult on the offensive side, then you'll get 3 mana. So in general, he's an A tier character at the moment, maybe S tier later on. Till now, I think he's like top 8 tier, so I'll just put him over here now. Doctor Strange, by far the best healer in the game, obviously S tier, and he also stuns the enemy, buffs you with different types like attack, increases ultimate energy, or what else was it, like heals you again, and also reduces enemies' defense. So he's just the best healer, supporter kind of character in the game, in my opinion, and could help you out a lot. Doppelganger, he is a single target back-to-back attacker, so yeah, he dodges the attack and also ignores the enemy's defense, so he might be useful as a single target attacker, but he's not the best, so I'll just put him over here on the B tier. Next one, Dream Queen. She's kind of unique, to be honest. Like, it's a bit weird to play with her. She reduces enemies' damage dealt. She increases the skill damage with her ult, so that could be useful, and also reduces all enemies attack. So I guess she could be useful in certain situations when the enemy has high attack, because she reduces the enemy's attack almost back to back, like continuously. That's why she's at the moment she's at B tier in my opinion. But again, as I said, we might get better contents, like some things that might, like she might be more useful in there. That's why I'm gonna put her A. No, I'll just put her B tier at the moment. But she could go up because I think she has lots of potential. It's just, yeah, she could be useful later on. Now, Echo, she is also a damage dealer, a physical damage dealer. She also attacks back to back, and it's a bit, I'm not gonna say weird, like Dream Queen was weird, but Echo is just a little tough to play, in my opinion, because you need to focus on how you use her ult, her different skill, because of the mana, cost that she has. So I'll just put her over here, B tier. It's not like she's the best, so at the moment, B tier. Falcon, again, in my opinion, he's also B tier. He could go to C at the moment right now, but since he increases physical damage taken on the enemies, and also he dashes all the time on the board, like everywhere you want, he could dash. So this could be either good for you or bad, because you will switch his position and that way you'll receive more damage. So I guess, yeah, I'll just put him as C tier at the moment. And then Hulk, he's basically A tier in my opinion, because he reduces enemies' damage dealt, he knocks back enemies, and he heals himself. The only bad, not a bad thing, but the only tricky thing that he has is that with his passive, when there's no enemies nearby, he just jumps towards other enemies, and that way he can screw up your lineup, because he's going to be your defense, right? Your defense unit, your tank at front to get all the damage. But if he just jumps towards an enemy on the other side of the field, then your other characters will be open up. That's why this might be a bit tricky, but again, it doesn't happen all the time, and he's a decent A tier unit. Now, Iron Man, damn, he's like the best physical DPS and damage dealer in the game. He just does everything. He deals insane amount of damage. You can reposition him wherever you want, kind of so that you will be safe against the enemies. And yeah, like everyone knows that. Like he's the best physical damage dealer at the moment, and for sure easily like SS tier, like God tier over here. Juggernaut, he's also one of the best characters in the game, S tier. And he shields, he gains ultimate energy, he charges and then takes less damage when he's charging, and then deals damage after that. And also, because his skill scales up with his HP, that way the more HP you get later on in the game by leveling him up, the more damage you can deal. Obviously he's a tanky unit, so the more HP and defense you have, the tankier you get, but also the more damage you can deal. That's super fun, because his skill scales up based on his HP. And then also his passive deals more damage when HP is more than 50%, and then when it's lower than 50%, he just takes less damage. That's why he's insane, like maybe the best defender in the game, but mainly later on when you level him up with, like, the more HP you get, the better he gets, obviously. Now, Lady Bullseye, I'm gonna put her over here, like A tier. She could go B tier as well, but at the moment, like starting the game, she's really good. She does follow up attacks and does good amount of damage, especially early game. That's why she's so much fun to play in my opinion, and deals lots of damage. That's why she'll be here in A tier. Now, Man Thing, the problem with him, like Man Thing and then Thread as well, and a little bit Devil Dino, the Moon Girl, but she's way better. But these two, the problem with them is that, as I said, like the Falcon, like and also like the Dream Queen, we don't have. They're based on summoning units, so they summon different units, And then, it's good for a crowd because they could act as spear and shield at the moment. And then they buff up summoning units as well. But it's not the best team at the moment. We don't use summoning units, especially in higher levels. So that's why they're not worth building up. But again, as I said, maybe we'll get different contents later on, different parts for the game, and they could be useful as well. That's why this might change. But for now, C tier. Mr. Negatives. A lot of people put him over here, C tier, like the worst character in the game. But I think, again, it's based on the situation. I'm gonna put him over here on B tier because I just like his kit, to be honest, because he's so different. He's super good when enemies have debuffs on them because he scales on the debuffs on the enemy, and then also can remove buffs from them. So if an enemy, or we have a mode or a boss that has buffs on them, Mr. Negative could be useful. And also if you pair him up with different characters that do debuffs on the enemy, like Storm, like Emma Frost, and obviously he can deal more damage. That's why he's different, and I want to put him over here. Misty Knight, good physical damage dealer, especially if you don't have Iron Man. So I'm gonna put her over here. She's not S tier for sure, so A tier. She deals lots of damage, and the more debuffs enemies have, the higher your damage is again. So one more time, these two characters might go well with each other. I don't think so, to be honest, because you need to have like at least two debuffers. Like these two and Mr. Negative could be useful, but we have better characters in the game now that could deal more damage. That's why he'll be here and she'll be here as well. So if you don't have Iron Man, she could be she can replace Iron Man for sure, but again, a good damage dealer. Now, Devil Dino and Moon Girl. She's also a good character that we have, so for sure A tier, especially since she has high AoE damage. Like all of her skills are AoE. That's great. Stuns the enemy and then enhances summon. So it's good for the dinosaur. Again, like these three could be a really good team with each other, but because they all buff summons, but we're not using them that much because it's not good for higher content because they're not as good as others. But yeah, she's good by herself, A tier, especially with the dinosaur. Like one combo would be Doctor Strange and Devil Dino, because you can charge up her ultimate and then deal lots of damage with her ultimate skill. The dinosaur does lots of AoE damage. Now, next one, Moon Knight. Again, he's kind of like an interesting and unique character. I'm gonna put him over maybe A tier or like B tier. Let me just talk about him first. So he attacks the enemies with the lowest HP, so that you make sure that like you have one less enemy if you're dealing with a crowd. And then he buffs attack speed. His ult attacks, heals, and removes debuffs. So at the moment, he's a kind of like jack of all trade but master of none, because he's not the best in any of those skills that I mentioned. So maybe over here, yeah, over here probably. One thing that I don't like about him is his passive, because there's nothing special about it. He switches to full moon after 34 seconds and then reduces his mana cost by 1. So if and then after you use a skill again, it resets. So if that stayed like that after 34 seconds, then he would be good for longer run matches, But for now, over here, Psylocke, another free follow-up attacker unit. I'm gonna put her over here, A tier. She also does have the follow-up attack with like these two, Echo and Lady Bullseye. So I'm gonna put her over here, and she deals decent special damage. If you don't have obviously the next character, Scarlet Witch, maybe you can use Psylocke to do the special damage. So Scarlet Witch will go up above everyone else, side by side with Iron Man, because she is the best special DPS and damage dealer. Like Iron Man, he's the physical one and she's the special one. So these two will be at the top for sure, because that's how broken they are. They are the best DPS characters in the game, physical and special ones. So they just, clear everything. Now, Sentry, one of my favorite characters at the moment. I'm gonna put him over here for sure, S tier. Again, a great defender. He has shields, he stuns the enemy, has high AoE damage with his ultimate skill, and then the more you have him in the battle, the better he gets because of his passive that he gains that void surge, that you increase your damage dealt by 10% every time that you get that, and you can go up to 50%. That's why the more he is in the match, the better he gets, and I like him so much. I'm gonna put him over here. And then Sleepwalker, I'm gonna put him B tier because Sleepwalker, if you don't have Doctor Strange, maybe he could be useful to heal. He doesn't have that much AoE damage or like damage in total, but he buffs the next skill that you're gonna use, so that could be useful depending on what's your next skill and what like how are you planning your attacks, and then heals as well. So he's not that useful. Maybe some people would put him in A tier, but for me, I don't know, maybe because I have Doctor Strange, I'm not gonna use Sleepwalker at the moment. But if you don't have Doctor Strange, if you are looking for a healer, obviously he's going to be your best choice. And so if you don't have Doctor Strange, he could be over here instead of Doctor Strange for sure. But if you have Doctor Strange, for now, he would be here. Spider-Man. Oh man, I wish Spider-Man wasn't like this. He's weird. He does follow-up attacks if the enemies are webbed, which reduces their attack speed, but he doesn't do anything much. I'm gonna put him over here, B tier, and that's so sad. I hope they give a new Spider-Man later on because, I mean, he's Spider-Man. He's one of the best characters in comic books, Marvel. So, but in this game, nah, he's not that worth it, and he'll be over here. Storm, she's perfect. Like, she's great. A free character. Make sure you level her up. Like, spend all your resources on her. She has wide range of AoE damage. She debuffs the enemy, reduces enemies attack speed, reduces enemies damage dealt. She debuffs everyone, does AoE damage. She's great in a lot of contents, and she's also free. Make sure you get her and make sure you build her up as much as you can, and she's great. Like, done. And then we go to Thor. Thor would be also S tier because he buffs himself to increase attack and also his range, and then electrifies the enemies. Nothing special about that one, but then you deal more damage. So he's also a great damage dealer. He also does have the AoE. He's kind of like something between a defender and an attacker because he doesn't deal the most damage, but also he's a little bit tankier than other fighters. That's why he's kind of like a hybrid unit. I mean, he's Thor, so obviously he should be good, and that's why I'm putting him over here S tier. And then last but not least, Emma Frost. Obviously, she's also an S tier unit. She heals, she buffs special damage, increases the special damage, like special character that they do special damage, like Scarlet Witch. So just think of it: Scarlet Witch, Storm, and Emma Frost. Insane. Or if you want a tank, you can use Sentry. They all deal special damage, even Thor. So it's just great. That's something pretty useful that you can use. Yeah, that's it. That's the whole tier list at the moment. I guess that would be a kind of useful decent tier list for now with the explanations that I gave you guys. And let me know down in the comment section what are your thoughts, or if you have any changes, let me know and we can talk about it more for sure. Till next video, have fun with the game and stay tuned.